That observational studies, researchers just observe subjects as they are. Groups may exist, but they're not being assigned to particular groups. These types of studies only show association. Experimental studies, subjects are assigned to groups. Because of this assignment, we are able to show cause and effect. And the reason is any third-party variables or lurking variables that might be heavy in one group versus the other are now evenly dispersed among all the groups with random assignment and do not affect the outcome. This allows us to show cause and effect. So now we're moving on to some examples of this. The first study, we see researchers at Columbia have learned that using Facebook may be tied to obesity due to negative eating habits that could result from frequent visitation to social network sites. One part of the study surveyed 470 people about their internet use. Those who used Facebook most had higher BMI than those who were not as frequently engaged. So, first question from this study, can we say this is an experimental study or an observational study? Hopefully you said observational study. Here, it says they're just surveying their internet use. They didn't assign people to use the internet a certain amount of time. So this is observational. And let's make sure we make a note of why. Not assigned to a particular group. They're just observed in whatever group they naturally fall in. Because it's observational, the type of conclusion we can make is only association. We are not able to show cause and effect because there could be lots of lurking variables here. So what other things could cause those who use Facebook to have higher BMI? Well, maybe you can think of lots of things. One thing could be lack of physical activity. Maybe if you're on Facebook all the time, you're not exercising because you're spending too much time on Facebook. And again, a whole other host of reasons. Feel free to jot down a few others of your own ideas. The next example is related. They had 84 people randomly assigned to view Facebook or CNN, and they were presented with a healthy and unhealthy snack option after browsing their assigned website. They found a huge difference. 80% of Facebook browsers chose the unhealthy snack. That's huge. Only 30% of CNN browsers chose the unhealthy snack. So, first question, observational or experimental? Hopefully you said experimental. The difference here is that subjects were randomly assigned to a particular group, Facebook or CNN. So they were told what to do. They weren't observed just doing what they naturally do. Then, because it's experimental, we can say that this big difference is actually a cause and effect kind of difference. We can show causation because there are no lurking variables. If anybody just tends to choose unhealthy snacks more often, all those people should be equally dispersed in both of the groups. If you go on to read the paper, it has some interesting theories about why this is. I'm no psychologist, but something along the lines of if you view Facebook a lot, you feel like you need to reward yourself with an unhealthy snack afterwards. I'm not sure why. And then CNN, after viewing the news, perhaps you're feeling really depressed and down about things going on in the world. So having a healthier snack is your way to give back a little bit and make things not so bad. So kind of some interesting theories going on why there's such a big difference. But main thing, no, because they're random assignment, it's experimental. And this huge gap means we can show that's actually cause and effect, not just association. Our last example here is somewhat recent, 2016, looking at the National Toxicology Program on a rodent study. And they're basically looking at cell phone exposure and tumors. So doing this in rats, the rats were randomly assigned to 2 different RFR with absorption rates of 0, 1.5, or 6, 3 or 6 watts per kilogram. And the exposure began in the womb and continued for 2 years. And they showed a statistically significant increase in rates of brain and heart tumors for those that were exposed. So first, what kind of study is this? Hopefully you're saying experimental. Again, experimental because they were randomly assigned to the groups, to different treatments. Because it's experimental, we can show causation. So in this case, experimental is fantastic. We can show causation. Unfortunately, we can't do experimental study like this on humans. It would not be ethical. So we have to settle for association type relationships on these studies in humans. All right, in the next section, we're going to check out what make up the components of a good experiment.